Hello and welcome to Anime Kiwi. So I couldn't find any music for these movies, so I wrote something generic that will get used if this ever happens again. Let's get going.
Anime Kiwi, there isn't a song for today.
Welcome to Anime Kiwi, special number 9. I'm Mike.
I'm Katara.
Cat Doder, did you know in Japanese the number 9 sounds like the word for torture?
I didn't know that. What's the relevance?
I'm assuming that you felt like this movie was torture unto your very soul. These two movies.
Well, yes, the first 20 minutes or so of the first half is probably the worst I've seen anime-wise.
Oh, that's the worst. We should dig into that.
I don't know, it was pretty horrible.
We watched MegaZone 23 episodes 1 and 2. It also has episode 3, which is split into two parts. That's a completely separate story. Well, it's not separate, but it's set like 100 or so years after the end of the second one. So there's none of the same characters and completely different plot.
And it's nearly like 5 hours all up or something, isn't it?
With episode 3?
Yeah.
Probably. I think those are both more hours and a halves.
Yeah, I didn't even have the time to watch all 4 parts of that thing.
I didn't. No, we only were doing 1 and 2.
Yeah, which thankfully, I'm really glad we didn't have to watch the other 2 parts.
After the second one, I probably didn't want to.
But apparently you think the first part is decent, so I need you to justify this to me.
I mean, it was a brainless action thing. It had cool scenes, cool action going on.
So I spent like a long time trying to figure out just exactly what about it bothered me so much. I mentioned that I was watching the Japanese dub up until that point, and it was one of the most excruciating things I've seen in terms of acting quality. The guy, is it Shogo, the main character?
Uh-huh.
He does one volume and one like performance he has for every single line in it, and it sounds like he's yelling. Like every line kind of sounds, "It's back here like this," just kind of yelling like that, and that's how he talks every single line, and it's incredibly irritating. And
let's see what else this boy's been in. This is his only role.
Thank God.
This is it.
Yeah, I can see why this is his only role because he's dreadful. But you mentioned that you were watching the English dub, and so I switched over, and
it's better.
While it's better, it's not good. It's just not one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it has shit. I don't remember the actor's name, but you don't know him from anything anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I looked over the English cast and I didn't recognize any names or anything. So
the guy who I can't remember how to say his name. Vic Mignogna. I'm saying it wrong, absolutely, but he's been in a shit ton of stuff. He's been Full Metal Alchemist, most notably, as the main character.
I think, like the other primary thing that bothered me is it seemed like it was really immature, and I don't mean that in like this is a kid's movie kind of way. I mean like it just seemed like the sort of shit that this is a 13-year-old would write and think is the raddest shit in the world.
Yeah,
like,
that might have been what was speaking to me.
Yeah, like
I was thinking, man, if I would have watched this in high school.
But I think that's an important distinction. It's less somebody writing a story for 13-year-olds, and it's well crafted and everything. Like, there are certain action movies that I think are incredibly badass when I was 13, like, your Predators and whatnot, and they're still good movies today because they're well crafted action movies and stuff. Whereas this, it seems like it's actually written by that 13-year-old kid who saw too many Predators and whatnot. It has the movie has this really strange, Americanized kind of feel to it. And the dancing scenes and stuff, they kind of feel like somebody who'd watched Flashdance one too many times or something.
Yeah, those dancing scenes were weird. This movie was distilled 80s in my mind here.
Yeah, but not just distilled 80s, as I said, it's like this really Americanized version of the 80s. And generally I think the nostalgia for the 80s and stuff is a bit played out, like the whole retro wave thing going on at the moment, and your vapor waves and whatnot.
I don't like that stuff anyways.
Yeah, I think that stuff's kind of lame, but I think the synth wave aesthetic that's kind of come out of that style is actually pretty cool. But in terms of the actual visual style of the 80s, I think is really garish and kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Which it kind of brings me to the other point, is in that this is a really cheaply animated and kind of ugly movie.
It seems like typical 80s animation to me, but you probably haven't seen as much of that as I have. The animation didn't seem anything out of the ordinary for the time period it's from.
I kind of like if you're watching a early 80s like Saturday morning cartoon show for kids that somebody cheaped out on the animation on because kids are idiots or something, like your Transformers or whatnot. Yeah, it kind of looks on that level. But, you know, there's hand-drawn animation from like the 40s and stuff that looks like a million times better than any scene in this movie. So I find it like, yeah, if they're on a tight budget, I can't exactly criticize them for that, but I also don't care. Like, I just care about the actual, like, how it ended up. And how it ended up is an ugly movie.
Yeah.
It's also kind of weirdly inconsistent. Like, you can see some scenes are like animated on 2s, and then some scenes are animated on 3s. So like some scenes are fairly smooth looking, and others are kind of jerky and like just cheap looking.
Yeah. It's not great. I thought the first one was enjoyable, like you said, as a dumb, trying really hard to be cool thing. And it kind of succeeded sometimes. It's the second one that I have the problem with.
Yeah, I think, like, I will, like, kind of say that if that kind of dumb 80s stuff of something that's too earnest to take seriously and it's kind of stupid is, if you like that sort of thing, then, yeah, I can see, like, why somebody would like that. So, you know, when I said I want you to justify this to me, you're giving me a clear idea of why somebody could ever enjoy this. So, at least I'm thankful for that.
There's a lot of product placement in these movies. Like real-ass products.
And it's weirdly like kind of po-faced product placement as well. Like they're proud of the fact that they got this product in the movie.
I mean, they just straight up talk about McDonald's a bunch.
Yeah, but like super proud of it as well. Like I said, it's really weird.
Yeah.
It kind of feels to me like the product placement in like Metal Gear Solid or something. You know, like they get a product placement for like a pair of glasses or something, and they show them off in a really close, like tied up, and they put the brand name of the glasses on screen and everything. That weird, proud kind of product placement that I've only ever seen come out of Japan.
It's very strange. Somebody's honking their horn outside.
He's a very insistent boy.
He likes McDonald's and Coca-Cola and anime, apparently.
He wants some right now. He's impatient.
I would like a Coke right now. I should have put one in the freezer before he started.
But yeah, like you were kind of alluding to the second part, and so the second part's really strange, and the reason it's so strange is that it completely flips its style, art-wise, from the first part to the second part.
And I'm not sure why that happened. Like, at all.
I think the guy who worked on the first half just quit or something, and somebody replaced him. It seems like the production of this movie, or whatever the hell you want to call it, miniseries, I guess this is probably the most accurate moniker, but like had a really fraught and kind of like bad production cycle.
Yeah.
Like it was supposed to be a TV show in 12 episodes, but they hacked it up into pieces and released it as this kind of miniseries on direct-to-video. I think it kind of suffered from it, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I'm looking at the reviews on my anime list here real quick, and it's pretty polarizing too. It does look like the second part had a different director, and so they just changed everything up.
And the disconnect between we should probably mention that. So outside of the my motorbike is a talking computer who's also a lady and isn't that cool stuff. Like there's kind of a fairly serious like political intrigue thing going on.
I think the plot of this could be really interesting if it was well done.
It just isn't.
Yeah.
And so they dedicate a massive amount of time to that political intrigue in the second half, but in like a really, really ham-handed and kind of poorly written way. Because like the first 20 or 30 minutes...
I really like what the message comes down to in the end. Adults suck. Redo it like a kid would do it. Here you go.
which is
Here's
probably
Earth.
really dumb.
I think that feeds back into that 13-year-old thing you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Like, whoever wrote this movie didn't just never grow up. But, where was I? Yeah, like the political stuff. So, like, the first 30 minutes of the second half or whatever, almost entirely dedicated to the, like, American 80s movie, like, underground crust punk kind of group or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the little bikie gang they've got going on. And it's incredibly boring. Like, it just goes on forever, and it's full of characters that you just don't care about and are all, like, kind of annoying little shits.
They spent a while talking about the virtues of Heineken versus Budweiser. Might be longer than might be shorter than I'm making it seem like here, but they talked about that for a little bit. I thought that was weird.
They dedicated some screen time to that shit.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we had Coke in the last one, but now we got beer.
Because we're cool and we're grown up. And we're rebels. And then, like, so later on, they, like, form a little militia of sorts and, like, just straight up attack the army or something.
And the rest of the movie is basically a feckless action scene that doesn't stop until the end.
Yeah, but it's a sort of action scene where, I mean, like, I'm not sure if I brought this up on the Satoshi Kon podcast, but it's like a bad version of Paprika in terms of, like, so much visual overload that your brain just switches off, but like in a really bad way.
Yeah.
This is a good example of just, and I think this is the main problem, and I kind of mentioned this to you like off air, like the action scenes are poorly directed, and so let's say like oh man, if we could show video of what I'm thinking about right now, it would be so good. But there's a scene in the first half of this 2-part series thing where he finds the underground city or whatever. And he starts getting shot at by like cops or something in like floating bikes or whatever they were. And you can see him like he's getting shot through a building and stuff like that. But it's really hard to engage with that scene. And I think the biggest reason why is you can't get a good sense of the geometry of the area. And like I've listened to some directors talk about how they do action scenes and how they try to make it really engaging. And one thing I've heard repeatedly from good action directors is that a good sense of space in the scene that the person can follow and track with their eyes is like paramount to a good action scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you put somebody in a space and they're like the viewer, I mean, and you're putting them in this space through cinema, but they can't tell where they are and stuff gets just confusing and you disconnect with the scene. But that's this movie dragged out to like an hour of that stuff, just never stopping.
Yeah, I was kind of zoning out at the end of it. It's too much. Also, some of the animation was legitimately awful in the second part. It looked like a CDI, like Wand of Gamelon level animation.
Yeah, like the character designs are better in the second half. They don't look quite as weirdly alien and stupid. But like the animation is just as cheap looking and bad.
Although there was some like ultra-violent stuff that I thought those scenes were pretty cool, but that was about it for the second half with those weird tentacles things.
Yeah, I think that those tentacle things are like the main reason why people accuse the Matrix of ripping off this movie, because they got like weird tentacle robots going on in the Matrix as well. But I actually think those scenes are kind of bad. With the tentacles and stuff and the ultraviolence.
I thought the first one was okay because it was just kind of out of nowhere. But
yeah, it was kind of out of nowhere, but I think it was too long. Like they lingered on the violence too much. It was kind of like they're really indulging in this ultraviolence. And like I talked with this about this with Mary when she was on, like how I really, really dislike movies that use gore and linger on it too much. Like, when you use gore and you use violence for shock effect, it's kind of an in and out thing, you know? And I think this scene would have been, like, way, way, way more effective if, like, as you said, that violence comes out of nowhere. But if this was a really punchy and, like, aggressive and fast scene that was over in, like, 5 seconds and then all of a sudden there's just this chaos and, like, and you're just sort of sitting there trying to process what the hell just happened, that would have worked way better.
Yeah, probably.
But it just sort of turned into gore porn, and I'm really not into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, as if you think about it, that scene is staged to be like chaotic and to kind of confuse the viewer and for them to figure out what's going on, but it's too slow for that, and they linger on it too much.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm just trying to think of something about the movie that I actually liked. I can't think of anything.
I liked the moment when the bike first became the robot. I thought that was pretty cool, and I didn't expect it.
I was completely expecting it, to be honest. Like, so I was coming up with anime cliches in my head, and I was like, well, logically, this thing's gonna turn into a robot at some point. And of course it does. But I didn't think that was bad, but I also didn't think it was good. It was just, this is gonna happen, you know? It's just it's the natural conclusion.
I think motorcycles that turn into robots are pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess, in theory. In theory.
But I don't think there's too much else for me to say about this. Do you have anything else to say about it? This is a short episode, but it's probably more than these deserve.
Yeah, like, before we even started recording this, I mentioned there probably was only going to be about 15, 20 minutes long, but yeah, I guess since we've been doing this kind of more and more, like recommendations wise, I think anybody who's into like 80s anime or whatever, I think this is entirely skippable and not really worth the time.
Yeah, unless you really like something you think high school or middle school you would have been way into, then maybe, but if you're not into that anymore,
Yeah, there's way better like stupid action movies that are really earnest but like kind of wink at you. Like, there's millions of them out there, and there's a bunch of them are really good. Like, you can just watch RoboCop. Hayes.
What's RoboCop?
It's a good movie.
Oh.
Have you seriously not seen RoboCop?
I've never seen RoboCop.
Oh, damn. I thought this was a bit or something.
No.
You should definitely watch RoboCop. It's a very well made satire. It's not like a serious like movie about an actual robot cop. It's, you know.
But what if it
kind
were?
Of, it would be really bad, and that movie exists, and it's called RoboCop 3.
Oh.
Although RoboCop 2 is really bad as well. But like RoboCop 2 is bad in a way that you kind of need to see. It's really baffling.
Maybe we'll do a movie Kiwi one day.
Yeah, maybe. Have you heard of a writer named Frank Miller? I mean, you probably have.
The same comic book guy?
Yeah, the comic book guy.
Yeah, I hate that fucker.
Yeah, he's got a writing credit on RoboCop 2.
Oh, that, even if it's good, I probably wouldn't like it then. I have never liked anything he's touched.
Neither have I. Like, I saw, it was the animated version, so, you know, bear with me here, but I saw The Dark Knight Rises for the first time a little while back. And, like, I thought the subtext of that movie was really confused and kind of, like, it's troubling in one way, but, like, the fact that it was so confused, like, you could take, like, anti-government subtext from that movie, but also the government should be totally powerful and stuff in, like, from the same movie. It's really confused and unfocused, and it's kind of like somebody who is, like, really politically, like, unsophisticated wrote that movie. Or the comic book, I should say.
Frank Miller's an angry, crazy boy who's not very good at writing, and some people will go to very strange lengths to defend him and his work.
But yeah, like, the story of RoboCop 2 is really interesting because, like, the version that eventually made it to screen is apparently, like, a really heavily rewritten version of Miller's script, and apparently, like, Miller's version of the script is infamous in Hollywood for being, like, one of the worst things ever written, so we should track that one down one day and do, like, a dramatic reading or something.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
I think that would be pretty funny. We just have to get people.
Yeah. But RoboCop's cool. Have you seen Starship Troopers?
A long time ago.
I think if you haven't seen it since, like, you were a kid or something, you should watch it again, because it's kind of a satire in the same vein of RoboCop.
I guess. Maybe. One day. We'll see. Maybe we'll let you pick a movie Kiwi one day.
There's a good couple of recommendations of movies that are far better than MegaZone 23. Or 2-3, I should say.
Is it 2-3?
Yep, you have to pronounce it MegaZone 2-3.
Oh. Huh. Probably should have put a hyphen in there.
Probably.
But anyways, that's this. Next week we'll be back with a series. We'll be starting Monster Up. Doder and I are gonna record 6 episodes worth of podcasts at once, but I'm probably gonna split that up. into 2 episodes. I'm not exactly sure what the release schedule on those will be. It might just be normal. They might go out at the same time. I haven't decided.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the length, I guess.
Yeah, but get on that. I've heard it has English dub that's not bad. So if you're interested in that, maybe look at that. Yeah, get Monster. We also recorded our Satoshi Kon episode with Mary Kish finally, and can't say when that'll be out, but it'll be out before the end of July. Hopefully, it's coming.
Apparently.
Other than that, if you like Yakuza 2 or Let's Play of that, it's not Doter, it's me and AP. That finally started back up after we succumbed to the Yakuza 2 LP curse for a little while. But other than that, I think that's about all that's coming out of Game Kiwi Enterprises Limited Heavy Industries right now.
We should probably register as an LLC just so, we can't get sued or something.
Yeah, probably. But if you want to reach us via email, which is seeming increasingly unlikely at this point, but maybe you'll change that, you can shoot a message to anime@gamekiwi.net. You can also reach us on Twitter and Facebook. Both of those are the Game Kiwi, whatever the parlance for each website is. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/GameKiwi, and we're on iTunes as PodKiwi, so go subscribe to us there and rate and review us, because that probably helps us get more people listening to the podcast.
What if we had a hashtag, so that way, instead of emailing questions, they could just, hashtag Anime Kiwi, and then, just ask whatever you want to do about anime stuff?
That's sure. Let's do that. Hashtag Anime Kiwi. Let's see if that's a thing already.
I highly doubt it.
Who knows? Maybe there's a New Zealand person that really likes anime.
That's a good point.
It looks like, aside from one from Mr. Black Marvale, 2,542 days ago, we thoroughly occupy the Anime Kiwi hashtag. So let's use that.
Hooray! I'm an influencer.
So yeah, you can use the Anime Kiwi hashtag now to send us your questions or insults or whatever. But I think that's it. I think we're on Google Play too. I don't know how that stuff works. I know even less about that than iTunes. So
I know about Google Play. It belongs in the garbage. Or Google Plus or whatever.
Oh, that's Google Plus. I'm talking about the Google Play podcast store thing. Google Plus is trash.
My point still stands.
But anyway, that's it. Catch us next week for the beginning of Monster, which I'm pretty confident we're going to continue because I bet Dodo will like it because it's real good. If he doesn't, then there's something wrong with his brain.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with my brain. I'm only a little bit insane.
That's yet to be seen from if you like Monster or not.
Am I a monster if I don't like Monster?
No, you're just a dumb boy.
Well, that's true.
Anyways, let's get out of here. This has been Anime Kiwi, special number 9. Thanks for listening. I'm Mike. I fucked this up.
Keep it juicy? Question mark?
Sure. Keep your animes juicing.